Greetings Zimbabwe and welcome once again to Zimbabwe Daily. My name is Informal and this is Behind the Microphone. Today we have in studio representatives of the informal sector and we are talking elections. Why is it important for people within this sector to participate in these elections? What are their expectations? And we also want to understand the crux of the matter. Why do we want this sector to be actively involved in these particular elections? Join us after this short break as I introduce to you our guests. All right, welcome back. So, this is a program brought to you by the Vendors Initiative for Social and Economic Transformation right here on Zimbabwe Daily. And we are talking about the informal sector and elections. And to help me talk more on this subject, I'll allow my guests to introduce themselves and the organizations that they're representing. Welcome, lady and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me. Maybe I'll start with you from right here. Introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, that's fine. My name is Shani Skwenda from VSET, Vendors Initiative for Social and Economic Transformation, and I'm a graduate vendor.
What does that mean? Graduate vendor?
To say I'm a graduate vendor, well, it simply means that I am someone who completed tertiary education, and I find it very difficult to find a job in the formal sector.
Okay.
And I ended up joining up the informal sector. Yes, the graduate vendor, and we are many.
Okay, welcome. And madam.
Thank you very much for having us. My name is Margaret Mutsambi. I'm coming from Economic Justice for Women Project. It's a young women-focused organization working with young women trying to establish themselves in a difficult economy. So our work is primarily to empower them, activate their agency so that they can, let's just say, yield more from their economic activities.
Excellent. And Seth.
Thank you very much. Greetings, everyone. My name is Wisbon Manai. I'm the Secretary General of Zimbabwe Chamber of Informal Economic Associations. This is a membership-based organization of workers and traders in the informal economy with different types of work to earn a living in Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
And within the organization, we also have young people who we call the youth, as well as persons with disabilities.
Okay.
Obviously, women are the majority in the organization. Lastly, I would like to let you know we operate under a vision which is called Decent Standards of Living for all Zimbabweans in a stable economy, and a mission of alleviating poverty through transforming informal economy activities into mainstream activities.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that elaborate introduction. Now, I will still come back to you because I love how you are doing it in your organization. Like, why is it important for the informal sector to participate in elections? Like, does it really make any difference at all?
That's a very good question. Does it really make a difference at all?
Mm-hmm.
I think given the format of our elections, if we track down from 1980, since we attained independence to this day,
mm-hmm.
In the people, the work of the formal work has continued to go down,
mm-hmm.
and informal work has continued to increase. And as a result, the same people who are supposed to be at the formal workplaces are the citizens of Zimbabwe.
Right.
And they are the same people who are now in the informal economy or doing informal work, and that does not take away their citizenship as Zimbabweans. So automatically that means it's important for them to make sure whenever there are elections, they participate meaningfully, so that their issues are also addressed by the people who come into these political spaces.
All right. Margaret, the same question. Does the participation of the informal sector, the women that you're representing, make any difference?
Thank you very much. That's a good question. When you asked it to him, I said that's a good question.
Okay.
It is still good, even when it comes to me. So the informal sector has become the hope of many Zimbabweans. And it's a desperate hope. Why do I say that? For us that focus on women, particularly the young women, it's a hand-to-mouth kind of hope, where you are really trying to make ends meet, but you're struggling, the responsibilities are many, the income is little, and generally the operational conditions are not supportive enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I will now then come to elections. Elections for us, it's a democratic process. It's our opportunity to make perhaps better choices that can give us maybe the things that we want, enabling environment, is at work, maybe we want water and sanitation, or an enabling economy.
Right.
So from that standpoint, just like any other citizen, it is important for women, for the informal sector players to take active part in elections. And then I always come back to the basic one to say, voting is a right of every citizen,
Right.
whether they are in the informal sector or in the informal sector. So it doesn't leave out the informal sector really. They have to take part because it is their right. But not necessarily just as the electorate, but also perhaps as potential candidates.
Right.
Yeah, because I think the informal sector is now huge. It's one of the biggest demographic group that if they really want to leverage on the opportunity of elections, they can really change. They can actually bring up their own candidate, push that candidate that they know will address their issues. So I'll just say from the point of view that they take part as either potential leaders or as the electorate, it is critical for them to be actively engaged.
Great. And I want to ask you this question because you talked about the informal sector even seconding people who will represent their interests. What are those interests?
The interest of, especially I will talk about the graduate vendors.
Mm-hmm.
Our interest as follows: we want jobs. So
Right.
it is very, very important for us. Remember, it's not like we made the choice of voluntarily, but we studying at the university, and I found it very difficult to find a job.
Right.
Then we ended up in the informal sector as carrying the titles of graduate vendors. Just a fancy way of saying someone who is graduated, but
Right.
not
You have
yet.
the qualifications,
Yes.
but not the recognition that comes with it.
Yeah, exactly. So remember, we're not like on scholarships. We're using our own money to go to school.
Right.
So we actually want leaders or the politicians who are running for offices who can address our issues, jobs. If they fail to address that problem of unemployment, it means that those are not good candidates for us as graduate vendors.
Okay.
We are focusing on those. We are looking at those who can, who understand our problems, the situation we are in. We cannot afford, we cannot even predict when we are going to have our next meals as graduate vendors.
Right.
It's very tough in the streets. So if we find a politician, member of parliament, or a councillor who is keen to address, even a president,
Exactly.
of course, the highest office, who is interested in addressing those issues, that person will vote for. Those are the issues that we want to be addressed as graduate vendors, because we want to be associated with the prestige that is associated with going to the university. So
Right.
some of the graduate vendors went to top university, the University of Zimbabwe, NAST, but they are not even employed.
Right.
They're just going up and down the streets. They are on the street. They are in Bali. They're actually competing with
For space.
Yes, it's
Okay.
very
Yeah.
difficult. Also, the issue of space is also a political issue, because I want a decent place to operate from, but it is very difficult to access or to own one, because there are political contestations.
Yeah.
So if you are not aligned to a particular political party, it will be very difficult for you as a graduate.
Right.
You don't even understand the shame associated with venting on the streets.
Yeah,
When
I'm
you are
graduation
graduating, I know you see they were starting.
So,
So
yeah.
if the politicians are not understanding that, I doubt we can vote for them. We want those people who understand our situation.
Right.
It's really painful.
We've come through voter registration processes. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission then called on people who were interested in standing for office. The nominations were done. Is the face of the graduate vendor represented?
Sadly, no.
No.
That's very, very unfortunate. Why? Because there are a lot of barriers associated. Just think of the nomination fee.
Right.
It was, I think, quite
1,000.
exorbitant.
Right.
For someone who is struggling to make ends meet, it doesn't make any sense. Just think even the age limit. Remember, most of us are young people below the age of 30, below the age of 35. So we are just people without hope now.
Okay.
Yes, but there's nothing we can do.
Right.
If you want to go to run for the political offices, you see that we don't have the necessary financial capital to stand for office.
I like that. I want you to give a picture to somebody who has no understanding of how our informal sector is operating. You talked about the prohibitive nomination fee that the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission charged for one to actually stand office. But give us a feel. You're a vendor. What does it look like? What does your bank balance look like at the end of the day, at the end of the month, at the end of the year even?
Negative.
Hands to mouth.
At times you even fail to find something to put in your mouth. So it is very, very, very difficult. So we are not talking about individuals who can actually save. Just think of the context we are in, the context of inflation, hyperinflation. Very, very difficult for someone who is just selling second-hand clothes. Remember, we are not selling them at wholesale.
Right.
Just go to buy and pick about maybe 10 or 30 pieces at $3 and they sell them maybe at $5. So to see ourselves as individuals who are maybe we're just making ends meet, we're trying, but all the margin.
Right.
It's very, very painful. But the sad part is our mental health is actually being affected. Just think of the shame. Just think of, it's like you cannot even have dignity if you don't own a piece of property at this age.
Right.
Remind
me of the soul day to get 25, you live in a better life.
Yeah.
You see now,
And you realize what
you see some of us were now
Maybe
about
we need to move the zone to
25.
35 or 45.
Right. Really sad. Yeah.
So it's very, very difficult to think about tomorrow. The situation is just tough for informal traders. Most of them, of course, there are some exceptional cases where some are doing very well, but there are very few. Trust me, very few.
Right.
Yeah, they're just hustlers.
Yeah.
All right, I think right now we're just going to take a short break, and when we come back, we want to explore more into saying, okay, now we have the candidates that we have. What is it that we expect them to talk about that makes the vendors or the informal sector feel confident in their manifestos? Join us after this short break. All right, welcome back. This is Zimbabwe Daily, and this program is brought to you by the Vendors Initiative for Social and Economic Transformation. And we're looking at the informal sector and elections. Why is it important for that sector to participate in these elections? So as we took a break, we were talking, you're just giving us an image of what vending looks like, and that's from the perspective of the graduate vendors. Now I want to talk to the general vendor who is out there, maybe also giving us a perspective from the experience of female vendors plying their trade. What is it that you can tell us about their own experiences, and are they even represented in this particular election?
Yeah, thank you. I just also wanted to follow up to what he was saying. Share a case of a young mother who is in Kadoma, who sells fruit and veg. She said that her total sales on an average day is $8. And then she has to pay $2 to council. And then there's a War Veteran Association that also moves around. They want like 50 cents. And then there are the land barons. They can come twice a day, in the morning $1, then in the evening $1. So that's about $4 or $4.50 that they're giving away just for the space that they are using. Then there are the political ones, of course, the youth, they also come, they want 25 cents, they want 400 bond and all that. So she was saying at the end of the day, I go home perhaps with $30 or $2.50. She has got 2 sons. She has to make sure that they've got a decent lunch box that she packs so that they go to school. Then her husband doesn't go to work. She has to buy the relish. So you actually find that she's overly done. And then there are other incidences like the municipal police can chase them anytime in between those times, besides paying some amount to the city council. And then they can have their stocks taken away from them. They don't even know where they stand. Are we recognized by the council because they're taking our money, or they don't recognize us because they're chasing us and taking our stocks? It's really sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, I'm actually tearing.
Yeah, that's how it was. When she told me that story.
Because this is the reality.
Yeah.
You know that people are going through like on a daily basis.
It is.
And I fear that a lot of our politicians, they're jostling for power. They're jostling for their own employment, you know, within council or in parliament. And as soon as they get in there, they forget about the struggle, the daily struggles that, you know, we are going through. I don't know. Maybe you can also shed a little bit of light. Like right now, politicians are campaigning. What messaging, or if somebody were to speak to you and say, I want you to vote for me, what exactly do you expect to hear in their manifestos?
Thank you. So it's unfortunate that I will answer it from another angle.
Okay.
These manifestos have failed us for long already. We are tired of hearing manifestos which are abusing people's votes.
Right.
You come, politicians, they come to the constituency. If you vote for me, I'll do this. And when you vote for them, they occupy offices. If it's an MP, they have these luxurious 4x4s and they will dust on you as they drive through.
Right.
If they are councillors, they are busy amassing land and having those opportunities to make sure their lives are better. So it's a bad situation in our country where most people who are occupying these political offices, they are occupying them for personal gains at the expense of the people they perpetrate to represent. It's a painful thing altogether. Like what my other colleagues have shared. Look at me. I'm a brainchild of a woman who was a widow when the father died when I was grade 4. And she took care of 5 children by selling in the streets, selling in front of arcade shops, being arrested by a local council, but continuing to go there to make sure kids go to school. We were not street kids. We finished school as a result. And at the same time, this type of women are many in this country.
Yeah.
And as they are there, they are still treated as illegal traders, as people who are invading so-called pavements. What's so special about a pavement? At the expense of livelihood. And now we are into elections. If you see now in Harare, if you go into the CBD now, temporarily these type of harassments have stopped. Because they know we are in elections. They are trying to gain the mindset of the vendor to vote for them. After elections, they start again. So it has been a routine game. And what we are expecting to see on the people who are coming to office, outside their so-called manifestos, we are looking at people who are real, to make sure Zimbabwe is a better Zimbabwe for every citizen.
Yes.
To people who understand that Zimbabwe, the economy of Zimbabwe, 60% of the country's GDP is being manned by the people in the informal economy, no matter what type of work they are doing. And when you get into that public office, what role do you want to play as a politician to improve the living conditions of these people who today, when they go to a hospital, they are not accessing medical treatment?
Right.
Whom to say when their children, when they don't go to the market to sell, their children are being chased from school. So we need this type of people to occupy these public spaces and make sure they push their agenda to improve the living conditions of the vulnerable majority, hard-working Zimbabwean citizens. Yes. These are the politicians. Even I'll go further to say, even to the high office. I mean, we are looking forward to a better period, whoever becomes the president of Zimbabwe. We have seen from the current president will not take away results when they are due. He got into office and Masungo Road was a death trap for everyone, traveler.
Right.
Now it's a better road. We appreciate, that's good news. For example, another one, fine, not many people do ply their trade through flying. The airport is now better, a better airport.
Right.
Sometimes I travel, you envy the certain things. It's now a better airport. But we are now talking about the citizens, the majority, the informal traders.
Right.
We want the president who is coming there to have a focus and say, these are Zimbabwean citizens.
Right.
They've suffered enough.
Right.
I'm going to make a political effort to improve their livelihoods. Be it at the health level, at any form of social security level. I'm going to have a listening ear through their organized associations. Have time with them. Ask what are the needs. How can we do them? Through different structures. Politically we play. They must make sure they don't continue to take informal workers or traders as criminals of this country.
Yes.
They are citizens.
Yes.
Rightly is supported and protected by the constitution of the country.
Right.
So we want the leadership which has got a heart to make sure Zimbabwe is a good Zimbabwe for everyone.
I like that. And it comes back to what Ishe talked about, the fact that we are not in the street out of electing to be there, but it's the situation that has forced us to say, let's go and begin to sell things. Now, you talked about tired of manifestos because really people can sell you a dummy. Politicians can be very manipulative. They give you an impression that things are going to be good, and then they get into office and it's back to
same old.
Like we get back to our lives, after elections and we start running again. Do you feel the women's concerns are captured within the policy formulation, be it at local government, at parliamentary level, at national governance level? Like, do you really feel that women's issues are a priority? If not, why is that so? If yes, how can we improve it?
Okay, good question. Again, good questions are difficult to answer. But my feelings really are that sometimes we have very good policies, but some of our policies, they assume that the citizens are a homogeneous group.
Okay.
Yeah. So you then find that this is where the lobby groups, they come in to say, there's an oversight there. The persons with disabilities, they will need this and this and this. And then the women will come in there and say, it's not necessarily gender responsive. Right. I think you need to actually look at the women's exception, the challenges that they actually face because of their gender. Or, it doesn't respond to the needs of young women. And that's how I feel for women as well, to say some of the policies, or most of them, are not gender responsive. They assume that we have a homogeneous group of informal traders and of citizens. Recently, we worked on a model gender policy for the informal sector to inform the ongoing processes around, the policies that are coming, small and medium enterprises and other bylaws in different towns. But this was after acknowledging that the policies, they actually there's an oversight there in an operational space, for instance. So when people say we want water and sanitation, maybe there's water in the morning and then sometimes later in the day maybe it is never there. But for women it's an SRHRA issue. They go for their menstrual periods. It's a hygiene issue for women. So the availability of water is much more important for women than it would be for men. And also issues to do with toilets is the same. You want to dispose of these used sanitary pads. You don't really want to throw things around. And sometimes you have your child in the same operating environment. So those are the things. Even when we say, when municipal police chase after them, some of them they have kids, some of them they have crutches. Can you be cognizant that, not everyone is an athlete, and is fit enough to
Right.
run, because it's the welfare of people. So my sentiments are that sometimes we actually have policies, but they don't respond to the specific needs. And I want to come back to where you said you feel that they are represented. I wanted to respond to the issue of manifesto to say it is even wrong for politicians to write manifestos for us. A good politician would go to the community and write and let the people write the manifesto with the people, because it's a people's manifesto. And that way, I think the interventions would respond more to the needs of the electorate. And if you are a clever electorate, when your issues are there, you were part of writing a manifesto, then you should be happy to vote for that manifesto and whoever is going to push it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You mentioned the issue that our community is not made up of the same people. It's not homogeneous.
Yeah.
I want you to come through, because I know you work with people with disabilities as well, and that how that constituency is represented in terms of issues. When you consider how our politics runs, do you feel that enough has been done, or something has been done to ensure the inclusion of people with disabilities in policy formulation and even implementation?
So in the chair we have a statement which our people with disability structures say.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it in Shona.
Okay.
They say akarimara ngazvitaurire, akarimara ngazvinzwire, akarimara ngazvimiririre. Which also communicates to say it's unfortunate there is none here. One could have been here speaking on their behalf about how they feel about the inclusion or exclusion of the election processes.
Yeah.
But I will just give a nutshell of that. To say from the members who we represent, I think there are many processes which have taken place to inform about the election. But disability levels, they differ. Some are visually impaired, some are blind,
Right.
some they have physical challenges, all that. So it means their levels of attention automatically differ. So certainly, because of that, they are not all taken care of. To get the information about the elections, or to be given an opportunity to identify who are the better candidates to associate with and to make sure they cast their vote on. Actually, it can even be an issue where sometimes we need to make an assessment prior to elections. How many of them have managed to register to vote?
Right.
Because it could be another issue where they're even, in the exclusion zone.
Yeah.
In terms of having registered to vote because of their situation.
Right.
No one would prioritize because you have to go to a certain center for you to be registered to what. So if they don't have like the extra assistance, which can be another extra cost, they may then not prioritize that because their priority is to earn a living.
Right.
So that's the situation which we have on the card. So participation, yes, could be there, but definitely it's on the lower side.
Right. That's very, very interesting. Like, have we made that assessment about their inclusion from the onset for us to even desire or want to see them represented, at these levels? With our level of politics, even those people are not able to determine for themselves which candidate to vote for because some of them do not have access to these politicians because of the nature of our politics itself. If I'm already physically challenged, why would I go to a place where I know stones are going to be thrown and people are going to be chased around? Who's going to take care of me? Tear gas are being thrown, that kind of thing. So naturally, I think it will deter me from pursuing issues further. Now, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, I'll come to you, Ishe.
Yeah.
Join us after the short break. All right, welcome back to Behind the Microphone, a program that is looking at elections and the informal sector. We are talking why participation is important for the informal sector in this particular election. And this program is brought to you in partnership with the Vendors Initiative for Social and Economic Transformation. Right, Ishe, I was coming to you. Like, in your view, how best can young politicians hold elected politicians to account, young people rather, young graduate vendors, or hold the elected politicians to account for their electoral processes?
Yeah. You are talking about their promises, right?
Right.
Okay.
We finished the campaigns, they're campaigning obviously, and we're going to vote for them, but how can we hold them accountable?
After we have voted for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, very important question. I think we normally don't do that. I think generally as Zimbabweans. I think we should monitor, even we should know what they were promising, actually to write down. Then we track progress. After that, we actually assess, is the comrade fulfilling his promise?
Right.
Yeah, because they are just good at, in terms of just
Talking,
they are excellent. But when they actually know that graduate vendors, remember, they will be saying, no, you have graduated but you don't have a job.
and you say, yeah,
we are going to deliver. If we don't deliver, please stone us to death. You know. But after that, after they've been voted for and they won the election, that's it.
You won't see them.
We see them after 5 years. So I think we need that process of knowing what they were promising, assessing if they are actually fulfilling their promises, right? After that, we know that this comrade is honest, or was honest with when he was promising jobs to graduate vendors. Because it's our need. For now, we actually need jobs.
Right.
Because some of our graduate vendors are actually forgetting what they learned in school.
Right.
Yes, because they're just asking retimary, they're just asking where I can link me with a runner.
What did you study at school?
I studied sociology and social anthropology at master's level.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you using that?
What?
Are you using that in your business?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm using it here to let the comrades know that it is very, very, very important to participate in the voting processes and also to ask politicians difficult questions. What are you going to do? We voted for you in 2018. We want us to vote for you again in 2023. But what have you delivered? Should we stone you to death?
Right.
Because actually they don't have anything to show.
In the event that we've done this election in 2023, what would you say, just hypothetically, like if we put it through to maybe 6 months, to know that this government has got our interest at heart, what is it that you should be seeing?
I should be seeing the informal sector being funded meaningfully, not just on paper. I would like to see graduate vendors being capacitated, their working spaces being developed. Just think of their vending stores. Just think of the sanitation aspect of the informal sector. I would like to see informal traders, especially graduate vendors, being given low interest loans, because we don't have we don't have access to finance, because we don't have anything. So they were saying, if you fail to deliver, what I'm going to take as collateral.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense for a serious business person. They will say, yeah, you've got a good idea, but I will see what I can do.
My return on investment. Interesting. Now I want to come to you, Margaret. At present, really, we've seen many women going into the informal sector, to cover up some of the gaps that we see in the homes. Sometimes the men themselves, they don't have jobs. The women are there to take those responsibilities. You have children, they need to go to school and stuff like that. what policy interventions do you think can be made to improve the life of women in the informal sector?
I think that we need to acknowledge the opportunity cost to our economy of not fully empowering women. It's up to billions.
Right.
If we look at Southern Africa. But I would really want to talk about a gender policy, a model gender policy, which sort of informs our local councils or our political leadership on how to be alive to the different gender needs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm talking about, I mentioned earlier, the social service delivery, the safety of the workspace in itself, perhaps like he mentioned, the allocation of spaces. If we are talking about a formalization strategy, how are we carrying everyone along with it? Like to actually see the leave no one and no place behind, literally manifest.
Right.
To actually say, yes, we are all a part of this process. I'm a part of the process. I feel safe, to actually know that the council is supposed to be on our side. We are helping with the money circulation in councils is fired and triggered by the informal sector. If council recognizes the informal sector as players that are complementing their work, then we work together. There's no need for the cat and mouse chases, for the police to actually protect us and ensure that we are safe, we and our stocks. So we are looking into something like that, but more sustainably, the ongoing processes of formalization to not actually leave women behind. The recognition that one of our biggest economies in the world, they have risen through the informal, by empowering the informal sectors to actually invest money there so that there is cheap capital, there's adequate support from the state itself.
Right.
And not for the state to actually fight its citizens, people that are trying to make a living.
Right.
Yeah.
And I still want to come to you because we've realized that maybe because of the state of our economy, because of just the social fabric continues to just break away slowly, and we have got a recent menace, the issue of drugs and substance abuse, and how women actually bear the brunt. We had a conversation with one lady who said, it's difficult now to know, like you are afraid that my son, my child is going to just, attack me end of these days because I don't go bata banga or I don't go to that kind of a thing. When you look at that, what do you think can be done to contain this scourge? It's part of the process that we feel politicians need to think about these things. What do you think can be done to deal with this scourge of drugs and substance abuse as a woman?
Okay, you mentioned two things there. You talked about the scourge itself, and then in the beginning you said something about the burden of unpaid care work.
Okay.
So I sort of lost the connection there somewhere in the narration of the question, but I'll try to answer to both.
Okay.
I think the most sustainable way of dealing with the issue of drugs is to nip it in the bud, which is very difficult because I think right now we can ask ourselves, how are drugs getting in through our borders?
Right.
Cocaine. Growing up, cocaine was a movie drug.
Yes.
Never thought there would be cocaine in Zimbabwe. But right now there are cocaine issues here in Zimbabwe. So it means that there are structural, our borders are porous, or whoever is doing it is untouchable because we cannot continue to have increased flows of drugs. So that means nipping it in the bud will take, it's a serious, maybe government commitment or responsibility. Yeah, exactly. It's their political will to say enough is enough. Otherwise, it's one of them up there that are doing this. And we as citizens, we can talk as much as we want in terms of nipping it in the bud. Right. Having said that, I think the other issues that we may need to address really are awareness issues. I would have loved to hear from the graduate vendors, because the stress, the anxiety, not having enough, these are things that are pushing young people, although we cannot then justify it. it would be good to increase awareness and consciousness among young people. But then also, if we are a bit behind, then it would be good to have adequate rehabilitation centers. Not just adequate, but also affordable and accessible.
Yes.
So because you realize they are there, some of them are expensive, some of them are not accessible. And so this is
Some
what
of them
this
are
is how
just by name.
Yeah.
Rehabilitation
Yeah.
center, but it's
not the service is not there. So this is how you have a lot of rehabilitation happening back at home, and the mother is having to take care of the son, and not only the son, hey,
The daughter.
the daughter as well,
Yeah.
and the father, and sometimes even the mothers themselves to try and deal with this thing is just becoming a pandemic, it's an endemic actually. So those are some of the ways that I think we can deal with it if we have got adequate, accessible, and affordable rehabilitation centers and much more consciousness and awareness building amongst young people, but amongst even the elders, amongst the citizens in general.
Yeah.
Because the informal sector is now being used to push those drugs.
Right.
Because when they come in bulk, and then you help me with a sachet because people in the informal sector would afford something for $1. So you can in the informal sector is we are the pushers, the final pushers and consumers. So
Right.
I think it needs to be a part of we need to mainstream that in our strategies as players in the informal sector.
Right, and I want you to actually respond to that as well, as young graduates and as the young people who actually, you mentioned mental health earlier.
Exactly.
Like, is this a coping mechanism? What's really going on? And in that same line, as we round up this conversation, you tell us what you think government or the politicians should do to really deal with that.
Okay, thank you. What I think is number one, we have politicians. Yeah, it's not like I'm not a responsible person, but my issue is we have politicians who say young people have graduated, some have graduated with useless degrees, some are not innovative enough,
Right.
they are not, just create your employment, your job. You should be able to employ. But those people are employed.
Right.
You see,
They
but
they have a salary.
they want us not just salary.
Yeah.
Huge. They are being paid handsome, but they want us young people who do not have any link, any connection,
Any experience.
any space to be innovative. But they are not even innovative up there. They are not. Right? So young people don't have, especially the graduate vendors, they don't have even the option. Some of them will just say, no, it's better to buy maybe mbanje for just 50 cents. It's affordable for them. Yeah, they just to try to forget their real experience, their lived experiences. You see. So yeah, to a certain extent, it's just a coping mechanism. But the real problem is coming from the comrades up there who are saying, be innovative as young people. The problem with you now, you studied sociology. The problem with you studied political science. The problem with you are not innovative. But we have seen people who have engineering degrees, who have the so-called best degree. They are also struggling. We are with them in the streets.
Right.
They are struggling. So we want politicians who are responsible, who will say, no, it is our duty to provide, to create environment. You fail to create the employment, create the environment.
Exactly.
Like, we are trying to make ends meet and they are just chasing in the city council, they put the therapy, we just get and more. They will be asking, no, please give me something.
They are also
So
struggling.
if you see something being arrested, if you see a vendor being arrested by a ZRP police office or city council officer, right, you would think that the person might have killed someone. You see, but it's just someone who is trying to make it
Right.
on the margin. So it's really a big problem. We need people in leadership who are responsible, who do not blame the victims.
Yeah.
Because they are corrupt, we all know that they are corrupt.
Wow.
And they blame the young people. Some of us just come from rural areas and come here just to attend university, and they are saying, no, you are responsible for your suffering because you are not innovative. But some they are doing jobs. They are in jobs, paying jobs using our taxpayers' money.
Oh, yes.
Right? But you should be responsible.
We have to be
innovative.
innovative.
Yeah.
But they are not innovative
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
Right.
If they were
they
innovative
cannot
now,
even finance
they should
it.
just lift those political offices and then do their innovations
Yeah.
outside the public offices.
Yeah, that's
Why are they why are they in those political offices and just keep on blaming the people who do not have the means?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense. So they keep blaming the victims, and the victims are now say, no, it's fine. Surely we are not doing enough as young people.
Right.
No, you are doing enough, but
the
under
environment.
in environment that doesn't appreciate the talent of young people. Remember, we are just wasting our life. This is the most productive part of our lives. But the old people in leadership are blaming the young people, saying, no, you are not innovative.
And it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yes, just to the same question? Right.
No, not just that. I want you to look at it, but I also want you to look at the experiences in other countries as well. How are they dealing with the informal sector, and what kind of policies or thinking can we borrow from those who have successfully equipped their informal sector?
Right. So I will start from this point of entry, which was just under discussion. So you see, the painful part of our country, Zimbabwe, we are filthy rich with everything.
Right.
Human resources, natural resources, anything you may think of, good weather conditions, everything.
It's very cold.
We are filthy. So
It's
it's
very
cold, but we have quality sun.
But
Where
horticulture
we can
is
produce quality
Oh, yes.
agricultural food,
Amen.
which tastes nice.
Right.
For everyone in the world would want to taste the Zimbabwean food.
Yeah.
We are filthy rich with everything everyone would want in this world. But the painful part is that wealth is not being utilized to the benefit of every citizen.
Right.
Where personally, with the experience I have in such as the Secretary General, if these people who occupy these political spaces would have taken care of that issue we are talking about, nobody would even want to ask them about their next political ambitions.
Right.
Because everyone will be just busy enjoying life. And I will talk of these graduates. There's what we have internally called systemized reactionary strategy, which is required in this country.
Okay.
What do we mean by that? We have a lot of graduates. We have no jobs. I will give one good example of what you're talking about. We have a lot of mines. In the mines, what do we identify? Outside these so-called formal mining setups, we have what they are called artisanal mining setups, who at once upon a time have been called makorokosa. Many things have happened in the bad side about these people. But when they mine the gold or whatever minerals they are mining, they also contribute to the fiscus.
Right.
Why not take an artisanal miner? We know you now have a general knowledge about mining.
Right.
But you did not go to school about it. But you have the experience of the practical work.
Right.
Now we are pinning you to an accountant. We are pinning you to a genealogist. We are pinning you to an administrator. We are formalizing this setup.
Right.
How many people will you employ in the process? Whatever number of people employed. We have taken care of the graduate.
Right.
You see? I've just given one good example of the mining field. We can do it across many sectors. That's the systemized reactionary strategy I'm talking about. These are the real things we need to do as a country in order to change our country to be a better country. Come elections in the next 5 years of whoever is coming. Lessons learned from other countries. I happen to have an opportunity to move around because of the nature of my work. I'll talk of recent situations. I've been to Cote d'Ivoire. Nothing much to take home.
Okay.
For me, the area I was in Zimbabwe, I think the life lived there, I feel it's more dirty compared to us. That's me.
Okay.
Number two, One thing I witnessed during the period of my stay, I never saw a municipal official walking in the streets to arrest people trading.
Okay.
There are people trading all over. They trade. Because they say that's their source of living. Now, if we take them away from their source of living, they can cause unrest in the country.
Okay.
So better whilst the country, we try to find ways to improve their living condition, at least they are doing something.
Right.
And peace prevails. That's number one. Number two, I've been to Nigeria. We all talk of Lagos. I was there a couple of weeks back. This is the nature. People, they just trade all over. By the corner of the house, or one converting the front of the house into like a trading shop. As long as they are working to earn a living. I never came across the officials who were arresting people to say illegal trader, trading from an unwanted place. Because this is the issue of livelihood.
Right.
They are actually fighting hard to earn a living.
Yes.
And the systems of those countries, not to say they are not rude on the traders, but they are also creating a way to say, look, if we mess up with these people in their numbers, we may cause unrest in our country.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the way it is. Now, it then speaks to issue of policy to say, generally in Africa, at most, we are very much behind as far as setting up policies which encourage or promote the activities happening in the informal economy. This is an issue we need to address at country level, at SADC level, and at African Union level. Our African leaders, they are taking this issue lightly. They are prioritizing other major issues which they call major deals.
Right.
Mega deals, mega investments, mega partnerships.
Right.
But these mega partnerships are not at the benefit of the majority suffering citizens.
Yeah.
So the policies need to be reviewed. We are grateful that in Zimbabwe currently we have what we call the formalization strategy, which after a long time we managed to push, and the Ministry of Public Service Labor took it upon. It's obvious it was a government mandate, but after a lot of advocacy through the parliaments, local authority, different sectors, and they took it upon to say let's have a formalization strategy, which they did an assessment across the whole country. We are happy. We have been participating. Informal workers organization, VSETs, CHIA, other key players who have been participating, and we came up with a very good strategic document. It is still in the hands of the ministry, going through different channels of approval for it to become a policy document, which we feel, if it comes out, we can leverage on to try and change some of these barbaric reactions or actions by the government or local authorities on the informal traders. But as long as that policy issue is not yet addressed, we still have a lot to admire, we still suffer. I will put my last words to say, under the same issue of the policy, City of Harare recently launched an SMEs policy,
Right.
which was not 100% covering to address the issues of fighting with the traders in the street. We don't know whether is it a political move by the councillors because they want to be re-elected in office. Whatever, if it is, as long as it becomes practical, be it because what we want is the change of conditions in the city.
Right.
People should not be viewed as criminals in their country, in their city. They should be given a chance to trade and contribute meaningfully as their lives are improved. The local authority also gains the revenue and the country develops to be a better country for all. So the launch of the City of Harare, it's a sign. We hope the city fathers and also the government at large are beginning to realize that let's invest into this space to make sure we improve their living conditions. So this is the policy issues we are talking about. We have thematic areas. We are looking at 7. And as whoever is getting into this political space for elections, they must seriously look at these thematic areas. It was a collective action. The issue to do with the infrastructure development,
Yes.
issue to do with financial inclusion, social protection, devolution, the formalization we want, which has got informal workers and their activities being put on the cards without any bias. Then the 6th one is the issue of the business networks, to say the people who are in the big businesses, they must create business linkages with the informal trader, because the informal trader are pushing a lot of products from the formal sector.
Right.
So there must be that business linkage at police level to make sure no one is being deemed as illegal or an unwanted trader, yet we are all contributing for the economy to be a better economy.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for this conversation, and I'm sure that a lot of people have learned a bit more about their own involvement in the political, affairs of our country. A lot of us want to shy away, but whatever policy is going to be put in place has an effect and an impact on the life of people. And as we close this conversation, so I'll just give you 30 seconds, your parting shots and your own encouragement to the informal sector. I'll start with the graduate vendor.
Okay, I will just say to the graduate vendors out there, if you are in my situation, please go and vote for your preferred candidate, and please don't just vote for the sake of it, but look at the political leader or the councillor, the MP, who is able to fulfill their promises, or who has been a blueprint that speaks to your needs, and be very, very confident in going to vote. Please don't just shy away from voting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishe. Margaret?
I think I'll just remind all citizens that informal trading is now a big issue in our economy. It should just be mainstreamed in all issues, just as we do persons with disabilities, just as we do women, because they now occupy a large demographic group. And based on that, I think I would also just say to the informal traders out there, you have the demographic dividend to push the leaders that can address your issues. So do take active part in the process, and be also able to monitor the process even after, to ensure that your issues are truly being addressed.
Be very, very active. Mr. Westphal.
The informal economy is the economy. There's no any other way about it. So the truth is, Zimbabwean policies should be focused toward improving the activities in the informal economy to make them part of the mainstream economy. And to the informal workers and traders out there, if you register to vote, we encourage you, don't put your vote towards, go and vote wisely.
Right. Wow, thank you so much, lady and gentlemen, for joining me in studio. I really appreciated, this conversation. I'm richer.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us for this conversation brought to you by the Vendors Initiative for Social and Economic Transformation right here on Zimbabwe Daily. We are talking the informal sector and elections. If you register to vote, make sure that on the 23rd of August you go and vote. Don't just vote for someone who gives you $10 today and forget about you the next 5 years. Vote for somebody with your issues at heart. Thank you so much for joining us. Do tune in again for the same program next week, same time. It's bye-bye for now.
Wow.